Hi everyone! Today I have a very special video topic for you on how to live a life of freedom. And I'm going to be talking to Vienda Maria today, who is a writer and mentor teaching women how to do great things in the world as they choose freedom both in life and in work. And we're going to have a conversation on how we can all apply and understand how free we really are and how to choose freedom and how to live with freedom in our lives. I hope you enjoyed this interview and let's get right to it. All right, so I'm really excited to talk to you and thank you so much for being here.
Such a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me today.
Yay. So I want to dive right in, and the first question I want to ask you is, what does freedom mean to you?
Freedom to me is the degree to which we can truly be who we are and do what lights us up. Mm-hmm. So that means without limitations, without constraints, it's just about fully embodying your truth and your essence and who you're meant to be here for. I feel that everyone has a purpose in life and we all have a message to share, and freedom is embodying that and expressing it without feeling like you have to fit into a box or behave in a particular way because of other people's or even your own expectations.
Right, I agree with that. And as I was thinking about what I wanted to ask you, I was thinking about what definition of freedom is for me. And would you say that it's different for all of us, right?
I feel like freedom, like there's an inner sense of freedom and then there's an external expression of freedom. And different things are more important for different people at different times. Obviously, the inner expression of freedom anchors you and then comes out into your external experience, whereas the external experience of freedom can be something that you create, but the freedom can fade in that external experience, and so we have to come back into the inner. But I don't know, like obviously we can see freedom from different perspectives, but in the end, what it is a feeling, and I feel like that feeling is something we all share, but the way it's expressed is different for all of us.
I like that because when you say it, for me it feels like the inner freedom is a reflected outward freedom. Yeah. The two are very much tied together, right? Mm-hmm. And would you say that authenticity and joy would be partners of freedom?
For me, absolutely. I mean, authenticity is an expression of freedom, and joy is an expression of freedom. So, yes, essentially, yes.
And I want to add is that when I found you and I was like gorging through your website and reading all your articles, that is probably the two words that popped out to me were freedom. That's why I'm discussing this topic with you. But authenticity. You're so raw and real in how you share yourself, and it made you so relatable to me, and I wanted to know more. So I kept clicking on after article after article. And so something that I know that I feel like I've run into in my own life is that what prevented me from actually like stepping into freedom fully, which is for me, it's kind of embracing that wholeness, that fullness of yourself. That's how I view freedom, is that burden of the past, right? Sometimes we have trauma or challenges or things that have gone wrong that kind of make us feel victimized or keep us trapped. So how can we get out of that?
That is the best question you could possibly ask. So I feel like in order to experience freedom in your everyday life, there is one thing that you have to do consistently, and that is to let go. And that means to let go of the past, to let go of belief systems that you've created, to let go of patterns, to let go of expectations of the future, to just let go of so much stuff, because the more you clear your slate and the more space you have to simply be, the more free you are. And what traps us and what controls us and what keeps us feeling stuck is things that we're holding on to because we think that we're not safe and we're not secure without them. So a lot of people feel like freedom and responsibility, or freedom and security, are mutually exclusive, that we can't be free and responsible, that we can't be free and feel secure, that it has to be one or the other. But that's not true at all. Freedom is actually about embracing all of those things and letting go of the fears that are holding us back, on the beliefs and the thoughts and the traumas and the past experiences. Everyone has gone through challenging life experiences in a certain degree or another. Some people have a much stronger, more intense experience around trauma, whereas other people have a more gentle and calm experience. But in the end, we all come to a certain point of life and we've experienced highs and lows and times where we felt loved and unloved and rejected and all of those things. And moving forward without allowing those things to be carried on our backs, like swords. The reason a lot of people hold on to this past is because they think that it will stop them from making mistakes in the future. So it's like, a really sweet sentiment behind why we're holding on. Like, I'm trying to protect myself and to have a better life, but actually holding on to those things don't allow you to move on and don't allow you to have that freedom. Instead, when you trust, and I love the word trust and freedom, when you trust that you have learnt your lesson and the experience was valuable for what you needed in that moment, whether it's a good experience or not, and then move on, knowing that everything you need is right here. And you don't need to hold on to the experience, you don't need to hold on to the past, and you don't need to hold on to the trauma. You can set yourself free.
Oh, that's beautiful. Something that comes to my mind is that the question I think we could ask ourselves is, by letting go, will it allow me to feel expansion? Because freedom is expansion, right? And
Definitely.
something that came to me is, I think the letting go, I think most of us are afraid to let go of our beliefs, to challenge our belief systems, because inner freedom is based on letting go of beliefs that are not serving you, right? And so what do you think is the number one thing you found working with clients and talking to people in your work that you do that keeps us from fully embracing freedom? Do you think it's those limiting beliefs?
To be honest, it can be limiting beliefs, but I think the biggest thing holding people back from embracing freedom is fear of change. And one of the very first things that I teach all of my clients to do is to prepare themselves for change. Like, you have to be willing to change if you want your life to start feeling and looking different. And they're like, well, of course I want it to be different. I'm like, yes, you want the external things to be different, but you don't actually want to make any changes in here, because that's scary, because you're comfortable with what you've got and you know what you've got, and stepping into the unknown and letting go of what you have known is scary because you don't know what's going to happen next. And we're so locked into our minds about wanting to, we think we need to know what the future holds for us to feel safe. Again, coming back to that sense of security, instead of embracing and coming back to trusting that we're being supported. Like, life is for us and it is here to serve us, and it's here to bring us all of the beautiful experiences that we're meant to have in life, and also some of the challenging ones. Like, that's all part of it. And surrendering to that instead of feeling like we need to control our lives. And so just the simple statement, I'm willing to change, will help change so much. And sometimes you don't even know what it is that you need to change. You need to be willing to change, because when you say to yourself, you know what, I'm willing to change, things just aren't working that well. Life isn't the way I'd like it to be. I imagine more for myself. I imagine myself to be happier. I imagine myself to have, better relationships and more money and a fuller experience. It's not happening. What needs to change is here, right here. And the moment we decide, you know what, I'm willing to change. I don't know how I need to change, but I'm willing to change. That's when you start setting yourself free.
And you think it requires a certain level of commitment from us to go deep, go in there and see, okay, what do I need to change in here? Because when I change what's in here, everything out here just becomes easier. Right?
Definitely.
So what practice do you think that we can apply where we can practice freedom as a way to commit to the change, because without the change, you can't have the freedom.
Absolutely. So, I mean, life is a commitment in itself. Like, either we commit to show up or we don't. And either we truly live or we just exist. And so, in that commitment we make to life, whatever you choose, it's up to you. There's no judgment. I personally really believe in committing to life in terms of, because I want this full experience. Like, I believe in reincarnation, but I believe this life is the only one I'm ever going to have like this. And so I want to fully enjoy every, the breadth and the length of it and every aspect of it. And so one of the things that a practice that I have in my own life, and that I also teach, is to use every choice as an opportunity to create freedom. So in every single moment, in every single day, we have so many choices we need to make. And what I do, freedom is a feeling. So instead of being like, does this make me feel free, and trying to get your head to answer it, go into your heart, or like go into your body. Like, for me, it's a feeling in my chest. Well, for different people, it's different. Like, some people, they have like their feeling in the upper stomach or around their belly button. So I feel into it, and I feel into each choice. And I choose the choice that makes me feel the most expansive and open and joyful and excited. And sometimes excitement is coupled with fear. And some yogi said it, I love this saying, fear is just excitement without the breath. So just because something's scary doesn't mean it's not right. It could also be something that's for you. And usually it is. Usually when we're scared, it's because it's something that's actually quite exciting, but we're like terrified about the steps we have to take in that direction. And so in every choice, we have these like different feelings. So you're like, I could either eat this or I could eat this. And when I eat this, I feel like, oh yeah, that feels good. And when I eat this, I'm like, oh, it's kind of fun, but then I feel kind of shit. So it's as simple as food, but there's so many choices we get to make every day, like who to hang out with, what work to do, how we show up in the world, how we start our day. Like, do I want to allow myself to sleep in, or do I wake up to an alarm? What feels good to me? Honor that. Do I work better in the morning, or do I work better at night? Like, feel into it. What feels good to you? So just a practice of feeling your choices and making those choices based on what feels good is an excellent way to lead into freedom.
I like that. I like that you said to ask yourself if it makes you feel expansive, because freedom for me feels expansive. Mm-hmm. And so if a choice makes you feel expansive, then that's you practicing freedom. And that's something that we can do in everyday lives, which is really easy to apply. And I like that you mentioned the fear thing. What I like to say about fear is that fear is showing you the way. Mm-hmm. Where there is fear, there is the way, because obviously there's something that needs to be seen, heard, experienced that will allow you to have this fuller, richer experience of yourself. That's why there's fear in the first place, right? Otherwise there wouldn't be fear. And I feel like fear, sometimes I feel like what prevents us from stepping into our freedom is that fear.
Yeah.
And so it's a choice, right? Choosing
Absolutely.
that feeling of expansiveness, or because fear feels very constraining and tight. It does not feel free at all.
Yeah.
So with that said, most of us have this fear around on purpose. Are we living our purpose? Am I doing what I came here to do? So how can freedom be a guide to our purpose?
This is such a good question. So I would say that very much like choosing freedom in every moment, our purpose is similar. I'm going to look at it from a different perspective. So, maybe your purpose is simply just to be yourself and to shine your light in your own unique way. But on a micro level, what does that actually mean? What does that look like? It means that in every moment, you choose to be the most authentic, joyful, and present human being that you can be. So in making that choice, really, in the same way that we were just talking about making choices, looking for freedom, you make choices that make you feel free, and by doing that, you are living your purpose. It means that, when you are with that person, you show up, and you show up with joy and you show up with love. And by doing that, you are living your purpose. And I feel like, oh my God, I understand this concept so well. So like many years ago when I was 26, 27, I was like, what's my purpose in life? I don't understand. Like, what am I here for? I can't possibly imagine. I don't even understand what my job is. I don't understand. But I want to have a direction. I want to know what I'm working towards. I want to know what's important. And I did tons of research and I read books and I journaled and I went to India for 6 months and like I did all the things that you're meant to do to find yourself, right? And I was really disappointed when I discovered that my purpose was very, very simple and that it was very similar to most people's purpose, which is to be creative and to help people. Now, I believe everyone's purpose is to be creative and to help people. I think we're all here to do that. How we do that is different for everyone. And we figure out the how by following that freedom of expansion, that feeling of expansion, by following what lights us up, by following what scares us. Again, that excitement without breath, by following a sensation of joy. Some people say follow your bliss. And that's, a really simple way to put it. But choose the things that open the world for you rather than close it. And that is you living your purpose. And it can change all the time. Like my thing, like I love mentoring, I love writing, it's my thing. But like it's gonna evolve and change. In 5 years I'll be doing something else. And then maybe another 10 years I'll be doing something else again. I don't know what they are, but every step of the way I will be fulfilling an aspect of my purpose. Does that make sense? Is that how?
Yeah, as we grow, the expression of our purpose changes.
Exactly.
I think the foundation, which is you said to be creative because we are creative beings, and to help people, that will never change. But the expression changes as we grow, as we experience more of who we are, as we step more into our fullness and that wholeness, right? By choosing a life that is reflective of us. I mean, I think we're free beings. I mean, we're infinite spiritual beings. What does that mean? That means freedom to me right off the bat. And I like that you mentioned creative. And I feel like being creative has a lot to do with honoring and listening to your intuition. Mm-hmm. So how can we live more free by honoring and listening to our intuition as a way for us to express our purpose, express the life we think is the best life we could possibly live?
I love that question. So, you say intuition. I believe every single one of us has this inner guidance that we call intuition. And that inner guidance is communicating at all times to something much bigger than us. And we can talk about spirituality, we could talk about source, we could talk about God, we could talk about connection to nature or the universe or whatever. To me, they're all the same. But like this intuition, this inner guidance is the unseen umbilical cord to the universe, to the other parts of us, the place that we all come from, the place that we all belong to. Mm-hmm. And when we listen to and follow that guidance and allow our intuitions to move us forward in life, not only do we no longer have to rely on our poor little minds who are very limited and they can only see so far and they can only think in a linear way and they can't even imagine what else is out there, we can like give our brains a break and be like, hey, you know what, you're off the hook. Like all you need to do is help me solve my day-to-day problems. The rest, my intuition's got it. We're just going to do what she says. Like on my end, she's a she. Like other people might be a he. We're just going to do what she says and go with it. So it's almost like having like the most protective, knowledgeable, wise, oracle kind of parent all the time that just tells you like, here, this is what you need to do. And you're like, okay, I don't understand and I don't know why, but I'm going to do it because it always works out. And I feel like that gives you such a sense of freedom because you don't have to be afraid anymore about doing the wrong thing or whether you should be here or there because your intuition knows and she's always guiding you to your highest purpose and to your highest well-being.
Do you have a practice that you use to I mean, someone watching this might say, well, I don't know how my intuition speaks to me, or I don't even know what this energy is. Do you have a
Mm-hmm.
tip for someone who's kind of understanding how their intuition speaks to them, and like the guidance and how to listen and act upon that guidance?
Definitely. So with intuition, like, it's a muscle. It's something that you need to hone and allow yourself to strengthen that relationship, because most of us, especially in the first part of our lives, are taught to bulldoze those inner voices and that inner guidance and just use logic and structure to take the steps forward. When people tell us, what you do is you get married, you're born, and then you go to school, and then you go to university, and you get a job, and you get married, and you buy a house, and you have kids, and there's this structure for us, like, this is how you live life.
Right.
Now, if anyone's been alive for more than 10 minutes, you may have noticed that doesn't actually work for everyone. It doesn't make everyone happy. It works for some people, and that's awesome. But for like 80% of us, we're like, you know what? There's more to life than that. Maybe I love a girl. Maybe I love a boy. Maybe I love both. Maybe I don't want kids. Maybe I just want 1,000,000 dogs. Maybe I don't want a house because I'm a gypsy. Like, what is it that actually makes you happy? These linear structural rules don't work. So to connect with intuition, we need to just decide that, first of all, you know what? I'm going to start listening to this voice. I'm going to start listening to my inner guidance. And at the beginning, it's really, really hard because intuition is a gentle, quiet presence.
Right.
Whereas our minds are like this powerful chatter, and it's you can tell the difference between intuition and mind, because when intuition tells you something, it's a feeling more than words, and it is distinct and without any persuasion and without wanting to control you. Whereas our egos or our minds, they're really repetitive. They'll come at us from all different angles. They're quite loud and aggressive, and they want to control you. They want to tell you what to do. So when you feel into it, and really to simplify it, one is feeling, that's your inner guidance, your intuition, and the other one is words, and that's your mind and your ego and your mental chatter. So follow the feeling. Like, what do you feel? Follow that, trust that. And it takes a while to hone it, but definitely pay attention to that first inkling. I remember when I was studying psychology, one of my professors was like, we've done hundreds of thousands of tests on people on how they pass exams. And the best way to pass an exam is, before you even know the answer to any question, answer the one that your intuition told you to begin with. And he was like, don't worry about what you think is right or wrong. Read the question, and then the first split second, something will tell you it's C, for example. Go with that, because you will excel in your tests beyond what you know. Because he didn't care what we knew and what we didn't know. He just wanted us to have really high grades when we were tested, because that's what showed up in reports. And like, when you look at it from a psychological perspective, it's so interesting that the first intuitive moment is always the correct answer, but then our minds are like, oh, maybe that's wrong. I don't know, it wasn't very loud. Like, they didn't repeat it, so maybe it's not true. But like, we know, before we know anything else, we always know the truth. And it's only after that we start to doubt, and that's mental chatter, and it's not your inner wisdom or guidance or intuition telling us.
Yeah, I want to add that it's always doubt. When it's your mind, I feel it's very conceptual, right? It's a very intellectual answer, and you're just like, ooh, this sounds really good, but when you look into it, it seems it's flip flop, and that's how I've known that your intuition will never kind of back up on you. It's like, I'm here, and the presence is available. I've got your back. It's your choice if you look, because like, I like how you said it. It's authoritative. Like, the ego, the mind is very authoritative, and I like that feeling versus authoritative way to differentiate. That really helps me a lot, actually.
Good. Yeah, it's the best way I can explain it.
So I want to ask a final question with you, and I feel like this will kind of tie everything together. Your number one tip to live more free?
My number one tip to live more free. I'm going to say something that basically comes from my rebellious streak, which is like fuck the rules, basically. People make a lot of rules about what you should and shouldn't do, and everyone has their own ideas of what's right and wrong for them, and that's cool. But you need to decide, like each individual one of us, you need to decide what's right for you, and stop listening to other people. The best way you can set yourself free is to decide what's true and right for you in every single moment, and don't listen to anyone else ever. Not even me, not even Kajal, no one. Like, you make the rules for you, and that's the only truth that exists, and that's all that matters, and that's what sets you free.
I love that. And I kind of feel that a part of that is when we take responsibility for our life and think that
definitely.
No one is here to save us. We have to do this. We have to do this for ourselves, essentially. What we put into this experience is what we're going to get out of it. And I like that. I mean, I've been a rebel since 1989. My parents will tell you that. I love that answer. That really ties everything together. And I want to ask just a little fun questions, just so I can get to know you a little bit better. Is what's the one thing you've learned on your journey that you always carry with you? It's like something you always refer back to.
Surrender. So, like, when anything's going on in my life and starts to feel sticky, just surrender. It's like the easiest way out of every situation, because things start happening. The moment you stop trying to control life, and the moment you stop trying to, like, forge your way and make things happen, the moment you surrender, that's when magic starts happening.
So what does surrender mean then for you?
Yeah, so surrender is like, it's essentially letting go. Is to stop trying to control things. It's to stop trying to make things happen, and instead just come back into your body, be present, follow your joy, and allow. It's the art of allowing. Like, allow life to unfold for us instead of trying to lead it and push it and force it in the direction that we think it needs to be, because actually there's already a path unfolding for you, and it's unfolding so beautifully that when we're like, oh no, and it's often our minds that do that, like, no, it has to be like this, that we lose ourselves and we start to feel stuck and start wondering, what our purpose is.
Yeah, and we tend to struggle more.
Definitely.
I like that. What is your spiritual practice?
Presence. So it's a moment-to-moment practice. It's about bringing presence into every moment, no matter what I'm doing. I have lots of, like, I feel like spirituality is constant. So, like, what's my spiritual practice? Life is my spiritual practice. I meditate, I practice yoga, I do different things, but, like, essentially what I really, really focus on and aim for is to bring my spiritual connection into everything that I do, in every single moment, no matter what, if it's work or connecting with someone or cooking something or taking a nap or creating or writing. I want to bring that spiritual connection, that aspect that's all part of all of us, into what I'm actively doing.
Right. That's how you makes life richer and more beautiful and more exciting and more fun.
Absolutely, yeah.
So the last question I want to ask you is, what is your favorite word? You can't say freedom.
Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, there's so many good words out there. You know what? Just for today, because it's one of my favorite things in life, I would say love.
Oh, yay. That's such a powerful... It's a word that is so devalued and overlooked a lot of the times, but obviously it's a powerful, powerful presence. So thank you so much for chatting with me today and sharing all your wisdom and all your knowledge with me.
Such a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I really love being here with you.
Awesome. And just so people can find you, where can they reach you?
The best place is definitely my website, which is viendamaria.com, and hopefully we can add a link there somewhere.
Yep, I
to
will
that.
put a link somewhere right here. So
Perfect.
go check her out, show her some love, and thank you so much for being here. And I love you so much.
Thank you. I love you too.